Hello. Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi, Funke. I see you. Our guest is in the house. Funke, I see that you're here. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes for more people to join, and then I will add you. So just bear with me. Give us about a minute or two for more people to join, and then I'll add you and we'll get started with this conversation. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Crystalis Conversations. This is, today is Sunday, the 19th of July. Welcome, people are coming in. Hi, Mommy A. Hi. Hi, Derry D. Hi, Tokito. Hello, everyone. Mommy A in the house. Oh, yes. Hi, Auntie Yinka. I see you. Thank you for joining. I just said to everyone that I'm just giving it like another minute and then I'll add my guest. She's already in the house, so I'll add her and we can start this conversation. Hope everyone's doing well. How was your weekend? Hope you got an opportunity to rest a little bit before we get into a new week. Hope everybody got some R&R. I did. I certainly did. It was one of first time in a long time when I've had the opportunity to just chill and do almost nothing apart from getting ready for Crystalis. I didn't do much this weekend, and I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, once it's 7:04, it's 7:03 here. Once it's 7:04, I will add Funke. She's already in the house. Welcome, Bussy girl. I'm very excited about this conversation that we're having today. Is excited the word. I just feel like it's such an important topic, and it's something that we don't always talk about. So I am happy that Funke was willing and open to come and share her story today, and I want you guys to hear. Hey, Tokbe, hi Labake. All right, so I'm adding Funke now. Okay, hi Ife, my darling. Hi, how are you? Hi Layo, hi Adela. Hi Lola. Hey Funke.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Welcome to the conversation. I don't know if it's just on my end, but you're lagging a little bit. Let me adjust my camera here a little.
Okay, I'm trying to adjust mine as well.
Hi, Darren. So is it just me? Funke is lagging a little bit. She seems to be frozen. We see you, but your thing is just scrolling. But we can hear you.
Okay, that's interesting. I have backup internet, knowing what happens and what can happen. So I'm just switching over.
Okay, so go ahead and switch over. Yeah, your screen is frozen. So other people are confirming that it's not just me. So Funke is just switching over to another internet because we live in Nigeria and internet service providers will not let our enemies be great. I always have a backup as well because these things happen. So once Funke has switched over, then hopefully we can get going. Everybody please say a prayer that today's episode will go smoothly in the name of Jesus. Funke, just let us know once you've switched over. Actually, what I'm going to do is okay, Funke, you're here.
It's still the same, right?
It's better. It's better. It's better. It's better. Oh no, she dropped off. She dropped off. Oh, let's add her back. Oh, let me re-add her. Also, guys, please pray for me that we can move this conversation to a larger platform where we don't have to deal with all of this. Hey, Funke, you're back, right?
Okay. Let's hope nothing goes wrong now. Can you hear me, Clara? And
I can
I'm
hear
not
you
frozen
clearly.
anymore.
I can. You are not frozen. Welcome.
Okay.
So, the topic for today's conversation is my journey to motherhood. And before we get started, I just want to read your bio, just so that people who don't know you and get to know you a little bit more. So, Olufunke has worked over the last 20 years across several multinationals, most of which have been in the telecoms and sales sector. Her successful track record spans direct sales, customer service delivery, as well as learning and development. She has a keen interest in people development and service to humanity. Funke is a graduate of communications and language arts with a master's in peace and conflict studies from the University of Ibadan. So,
Correct.
impressive. Yeah, and you've been working for over 20 years, which makes perfect sense because we know you're in your mid-40s. So I've read just a little bit about your bio, but I'm going to let us hear it from the horse's mouth. So tell us a bit about yourself, your family background, your growing up years. What was that like? Just a little bit.
Growing up years were brilliant. I come from a really big family, polygamous home, 5 wives, 16 kids, of which I'm number 4.
Wow.
And I always like to add a punchline that my dad died before I was 50 and he already had 5 wives. So you can imagine if he had lived anything beyond that. Pretty much that's it. Grew up in a military cantonment, went to military schools. What else is there to say? I mean, growing up, you have every dream. You have the same dream every girl has. You want to get out of school. You want to get married. You want to ride off into the sunset with your Prince Charming and make money along the way and friends. Pretty much that.
That's I love the way you summed it up. So, growing up, like you said, in a large family, lots of children, polygamous home, you were used to having lots of people around you. And you said, your aspirations of growing up, part of it was to get married, have children. How many children did you think you were going to have? Were you in your dreams? How many children?
6.
6.
6.
6.
6. My mom had 6, and I wanted 6.
You wanted 6. So yeah, so you were all set. You went off to UI after secondary school, and you met a certain gentleman there and started a relationship, which went on for a while. So
A long while.
I guess at that point you were thinking, okay, this is the person I'm going to marry. You met him in year 1, and you said to me in our pre-conversation.
Yes, that's it, pretty much. Hi, can you hear me?
So how long did you guys date for?
10 years. So that was
10 years.
Yeah. 10 years. And
So
that should have
been, this was at some point.
It should have been the man of my dreams. I mean, that was the original plan. Leave school, get a place, get married, start a life, but didn't work out that way.
Start having those 6 children. For you to have 6 children, you needed to have started pretty early. But as fate would have it, it didn't work out. After 10 years, you guys went your separate ways. And at this point, you're well into your 30s. Obviously, by the time you broke up with this man. So did you start feeling some pressure at that point that I'm still single, I'm in my 30s, when am I going to start having these 6 children?
Pressure is not something I really, pressure to marry, no. Even pressure to have kids didn't start up until a few years ago, till I was in my 40s, or till I was 40. So pressure I've never really had. There was really, I mean, the idea was you find the man of your dreams and you got married when you found him. If you didn't find him, you just continued searching, which is what I was. I believe the man was there, I'd find him, and I never did. I never did. That's the summary of it.
So, and obviously, you're not feeling pressure. Some people start feeling pressure, maybe not internally, but external pressure, family, friends, mother is talking, you know, aunties are talking. Was that your experience? How did your mom, your dad had died when you were a teenager, but how did your mom handle this?
I mean, you get, so if I say I didn't have pressure, I didn't put myself under pressure, but there's always pressure from family, from friends, and from a large family like mine. There's always a wedding that there's always a wedding. And there's always a gentle nudge. Tieno Adeo is a popular Yoruba prayer, which means, don't worry, don't lose hope, yours is coming. And there was a bit of pressure from my mom, but I've also been one of those people that I'm very strong-willed. So people tend to think very carefully before they bring subjects up with me. But they'll go to my mother and they'll go to my siblings and talk about it. And my answer was very simple. If you find me the man today, I'll marry him. I'm searching, I can't find him. Maybe I need help. So I'd say, you know, just try it. I swear, I'll take it. And nobody came up with one. That's it. I left it.
Fantastic response. I remember I used to tell aunties as well, when they would stress me, I would say, auntie, that means you're not praying. Because
if you were
praying, this, and you know, that tends to shut people up pretty quickly. It's like, auntie, that means you have to step up your prayers. You know, but I actually wanted to say, I got right into the conversation.
I have one minute. For some odd reason, all my lights just went out.
Okay, so this is actually a good moment because I went straight into the conversation with Funke and I didn't do my normal preamble, which is to say, if you have questions for Funke, please put them in the question box and we'll take them towards the end of the show. So, but if you put them in the comments, then they scroll up and we don't see them. So put them in the question box and we'll get to them at the end of the show. The other thing I wanted to say is that my sister pointed out to me earlier today that it's sort of, what's the word I would say? So Funke, I was saying actually that my sister pointed out, I was going to say this earlier, that my sister pointed out to me today that it's kind of fitting that we're having this conversation today, which is Ibidu Igodalo's 40th birthday. I hadn't thought of it when we were preparing for this, when we picked the day, even up until my sister brought it up a few hours ago. I hadn't thought of it. But I think this is, in a little way, a tribute to her, someone who, spent her much of her life trying to help people become parents, mothers. She struggled as well, and she eventually adopted 2 beautiful children. So she is herself a testament to the fact that however you come into motherhood, you are a mother, and it's legitimate and it should be celebrated. I also wanted to say that I'm very grateful to you for sharing your story, because I know that for many people this path of adoption is fraught with so much tension. To even choose it, to choose this path is brave, and then to speak openly about it. Some people they do it and then they decide, which is their choice, and I respect that.
Their choice, really.
Yeah, but I think the more we talk about it, the more we can destigmatize adoption and just make it a valid choice for anyone who's seeking to be a parent. Yes. So I went off track a little bit there, but we were talking about pressure just before you went off. Sometimes the pressure that you feel from family, from well-meaning or not so well-meaning aunties and even random people, But you said that you didn't particularly allow that to get to you. But it was when you turned 40 that, you really started to think about the fact that, you wanted to have children. What happened when you turned 40?
You have to be ready for this. So the year I turned 40 was the same year my mom died. And her death is something that I've not really come to grips with fully, for many reasons. And I mean, chief of which is my mom's prayer to me constantly. And forgive me for the guys who don't speak Yoruba. I do a lot of reference to, when I'm nervous, I go back to my comfort language, which is Yoruba in this case. My mom always used to pray and say, Omo Allah noe. It was, she finished every conversation with that line. And I know that more than anything else, me getting married was the one thing. She used to say it was the one cross that she was still carrying. And once that was sorted, she was ready. Everything was okay. So for me, it was a lot of pressure. My mom had died. I hadn't given her that one thing that she really wanted. More so because I was also a very troubled teenager and a very troublesome teenager. So I gave my mom a bit of a hard time, a very, very hard time. So our relationship really started in my 30s. We became friends. I mean, everybody who knows me knows I call my mom her full name, Olufunlayo Florence, and she say, yes, D. We were paddies like that, show up in Ibadan. And I mean, we had a moment when marriage and kids came up that we gave each other space, but we were friends. And she really wanted that. Me, it was that I'd let her down. I hadn't done that thing. And it became something that I must. I mean, the order in my head of getting married and having kids suddenly went out the window. It was like, now like, I want to have kids. And it was a race I started to run at that time. Right. Adoption was not first option, but it wasn't very far off. It was something I'd always considered, I'd always been part of on the side. So for me, it wasn't a very far-fetched option.
Far-fetched option, okay. So you said you had considered, obviously for you, it was the normal order will be, I'll get married, then I'll have children. But as marriage didn't happen, and you're in your 40s, like you said, mom had passed on, and you had this feeling that this was something she really wanted for you and she would have loved to see happen for you before she passed away. Your siblings were all married with children.
Every single, okay, so my mom died the day before my youngest brother's wedding. But aside from that, every singular person, if I remember correctly, this was 5 years ago, almost 6. I believe every single person was married at that point in time of my siblings. Yeah. So it was
16 of you. So,
yes. I mean, so it was.
See why this would have been something that was really on your mother's heart for you to happen for you. So you said you considered other. It wasn't the first path that you thought about, but eventually you landed on I'll adopt. How did your family, did you talk to family about it? Did you talk to loved ones or mentors or anybody about it? And if you did, how did they react?
So, I mean, I'd spoken about adoption just before I was 40 for some odd reason. I was talking to a friend of mine one day, and we're just, I mean, you get a lot of those jokes. Somebody will tell you something like, you know, Funke, just marry anybody, so long as it's not my husband. I mean, my friends made jokes like that. See, be wife number 2, it doesn't matter, just don't marry my husband. or Funke, let's do something about this baby thing. And I remember telling a friend of mine that if I was going to have a child now, I would probably just, I mean, why not consider adoption? And she found it very strange because she was like, one, have you tried having yours? Adoption is what you do when you can't have kids.
When you have tried everything else.
Yes. But it's not what you do when you have not tried. Have you tried? No. You are actively, I mean, nobody wants to get pregnant by design out of wedlock, if you know what I mean. So it was something I was definitely not on the path to doing. And she's like, so try and have yours. I mean, if you don't want to marry, I understand that, but have kids. And a lot of wise women who were much older had told me before time that, see, forget men, they come and go. I'd heard that several times from one of my stepmoms, from my friends.
Anybody and
just that, you know what, because men come and go, but a child is something that is really, that is you. So I'd had that being said before. So when I told this friend of mine, and she's like, no, it's something you go to when you've tried other options. And she wasn't the only one. I spoke to another friend of mine who I really, 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 really respect. My mentor, actually. It's interesting I use that word. And he too was like, nah, come on. This is not what it is. Let's leave Christianity and all of those things aside. If you want to have a child right now, you can take care of one. Nobody's going to ask you what happened. Everybody's just going to be so glad you have one. So go ahead, find a guy, get one. But don't, adoption is not where you start from. So I had that. So when I was really going to go into adoption, I just made up my mind now. This wasn't me considering it, telling anybody. I didn't want opinions. I didn't want advice. I knew it was what I wanted. So I only found people who were along that path. And funny enough, even the same friends who had said no before, because now they've been aware of my challenges of, okay, trying to have, even without being married, not being able to. So now nobody was speaking against it because as far as they were concerned, you have tried. It just didn't happen.
Okay.
Yeah, but this time around, I didn't really ask for advice. I just made inquiries about how to go about the process.
Fantastic. So you made inquiries, which takes us now to the beginning of the actual process of adoption. You'd made up your mind. You were no longer seeking anybody's opinion or validation. You're like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm starting this process. Walk us through the process then, once you made up your mind.
Okay, the process is it's very easy. I'm surprised, in Lagos State especially, I'm told, but it's very straightforward. So I made inquiries. What's the process? How do I go about it? And like you said earlier, it's not something a lot of people talk about. So I couldn't find one person that I knew personally that had gone through it. But I knew people who knew people who knew people, so to speak. So I just asked, and a friend pointed me to somebody who gave me the steps. Very simple. You write an application letter to the Ministry of Women Affairs and Youth Development. It goes through some sort of internal approval. Once they approve that, they invite you in, give you a long list of requirements. And the process is not easy. There's the temptation. The process itself is easy. Yeah, the process is easy, but you unless you're determined, you can get turned away by, is it an attitude or something that sort of takes your eye off the ball? But the application went in, and from then the ministry just gets in touch with you. They tell you when to bring in your forms. They tell you what you need. It's a long list of process that I already have written out in case anybody wants it. I share this also easily. I tell the whole world, it's something that has brought me tremendous joy. So I'm willing to advise or handhold anybody. But it starts with that application letter. It goes through the approval process. There's a panel. It's a long process.
And is it intrusive? Would you call it intrusive as well?
It's extremely intrusive. You have no secrets. Pay slips, tax form, they come to your house, they check your bathrooms, they check your toilet. You do a medical that is very thorough, your history. You can't go and pose at the adoption office. I'm sorry. Everything about you is there. It's one of the most, it's not a dignified process, because when all of you are sitting there, you know what you are there for. And fortunately for me, a friend had warned me, and she said it in Yoruba. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to say this again. She said, "Egbin polonoy." Egbin is, I don't know what that is. I can't translate it. It's disgust, feels, or something.
It's okay.
But she had warned me that, look, unless you are determined, you would, because you look at some people and you think, if not that I'm here for this, ideally, I wouldn't be sitting here. But I must commend people also under the immense pressure that they are on in that place. It was my first direct exposure with ministry workers, and I doff my hat to them. If you worked, I doff my hat. They do a lot. They could be nicer sometimes, but they do a lot.
I think it's important to pause there, because we tend to have a perception, especially of government, Nigeria, that everything is just anyhow, jaka jaka. If you want a child, you can buy a child. If you want to, So the fact that this is a very thorough process, I believe that
Extremely.
it should be this stringent, because they have to weed out people who are not really sure whether this is what they want to do. They just think, ah, let me try, and then you have to really, it does have, they do have to build those stumbling blocks, so to speak, along the way to weed out those who are not really in this for the long haul. So I'm glad to hear that Lagos State at least does a very thorough job of
Let me
vetting.
also mention something. Can I mention quickly what
Yes,
Lagos
please.
State has that I loved? Because at the beginning of my process, my fear was, don't I have to be married?
Mm.
And because I'd made inquiries, for instance, in your state, in a few places before, and believe me, after the first day of going to make inquiry, you just go home and you decide that there must be something else.
Mm.
If this is the process, no, there's got to be something else. But they were very straightforward. All they want is somebody, they just need to be sure that somebody is able to provide for a child. So the main conditions, if you're single, in short, the only condition if you're single is that you can only adopt a child the same sex as you.
Right.
But they didn't. That was
So whether
my
you're single, whether
fear.
you're married, they don't discriminate against you
They
because
don't
of your
discriminate.
marital status. What are
No,
some of the other requirements? You said that they will only let you adopt a child that's the same gender as
sex
you.
as you.
Yeah. What are some of the other maybe requirements that are built into the process?
So basically, it's all of your life that you can document, from pay slips to tax to address. I mean, they come into your home. This is me being surprised now. Somebody from the military visits your home. They check everything. And it wasn't in the checking that I found, it was also the support that they gave. Because the guy came in, looked around, and he pointed out, Madam, this is not child friendly. When your child is coming, you have to do this. They took pictures. I did not see one. I mean, this is ministry. So you're not talking of somebody looking for something on the computer. They have stacks and stacks and stacks of files. And they knew exactly what you had brought and what was missing. They were that thorough.
Right.
So somebody would tell me, I mean, they give you a long list of requirements. I can't remember, you need to take a picture of yourself and your husband. I mean, if you're married, the requirements are even longer, because it now involves being sure that it's a total agreement.
Both
But if you're
parties.
single, yes. So it's a long list. I can't remember all of it. I have it documented. It's all paperwork. And it's also time consuming, because I would go to Alausa, I can't remember how many times a week. So you need support. You need employers and teammates that understand your journey and are willing to just cover for you at the last minute.
Last minute. Wow. Okay. So along the lines, as you are now well neck deep into the process, and at some point, what happens? Is it when they now approve you that you can now begin? You are now on a list for a child.
Yeah. So after your documentation, medicals, everything. No.
Go ahead.
So first, you have your application letter going. It's approved for you to even start applying. So there are two approvals. You have to be approved first leg, and then you get everything else in, medicals and all. And then they clear you for what is called a panel, where you actually are interviewed one-on-one. And that panel is what I call a leveler. Okay?
Why do you say that?
Because there are people who are there to adopt. Their police achetes are opening the door for them to come out. You can smell the perfume a mile away. The bags can pay my salary for 6 months. And then there are some people there wearing Dunlop slippers and their umbrellas. Everybody sat in the same room.
Right.
Everybody. Then you go up to this panel where there are tables set up. There are no rooms, private, no. And people are asking you questions. And sometimes they tell some people, no, we're not convinced, you don't get this. So for me, you are at that point. There's nobody's interested in your class or how much money you have. They are focused mainly on, can you care for a child? And the questions are direct. They're very thorough. Sometimes they're unfriendly. So sitting there waiting for my turn, and I went alone because remember this time I wasn't taking advice. I wasn't telling anybody. I felt so alone because people came with father, friend, husband, somebody. I've never prayed throughout that process. And when it was my turn, I found favor. Let me just put it that every single step of the way. I mean, the guys that have been screaming and have turned every single person away. Maybe the last 9 people before me, I could hear them arguing and saying no. When it was my turn, I spent maybe 10 minutes, had a nice conversation. We were laughing. And they said, okay. And I'm like, okay, what? They're like, okay, what's the next step? You are free. You're now clear to go and adopt. And then you start another journey because it's not as if the babies are lined up.
Right.
I'm taking that to every single home. They give you a long list of approved home and you're going there and you are just joining the queue.
Right.
Joining the queue. There's a long list. And everywhere you get to, and this is me that was very sure that I wouldn't have a problem. I'm part of several groups that have worked and supported several motherless baby home, orphanages. I was sure that once I took my letter to so-and-so place, they move me to the top of the list. There was no such thing. You joined the queue.
You joined the queue. Did you have, for you, did it have to be a baby or did you have an age requirement or did it not matter?
I remember my forms, what I filled in at first was age 2 to 5. And they asked me at the panel why. I said, because I wanted to, since I was going this route, I might as well miss the sleepless nights. And the lady told me that I was very serious because the sleepless nights never stop.
Yep.
That was my preferred age. And for a lot of reasons, because I knew that I'd be on my own. I wanted a child that very school age, we could leave home together. I planned it out in my head that after like 7 months, a year at home, I drop off in school, I do all of that. But what you plan and what happens are totally different things.
Fantastic. So we plan, meanwhile, God has a different idea. So what happened? How did you meet your daughter?
I'm not even going to go into that part of the story because we won't finish today.
Wow.
Okay? But remember that, this is me now. My letter had gone to many different places. And when you go to these homes, I wasn't just dropping letters. I was building relationships. So you'd just sort of spend time. If they allowed you, not all of them did that. But I remember the day I got a call that I might have a daughter. It was, unless you're really determined also, there are a lot of things that, it's a fearful process because you see this child who at what, maybe less than 2 weeks of age had already gone through so much. And your first fear is, can I really take care of this child? So I got a call and I was told, oh, one of the homes that dropped my letter in might have a child for me. Might was all I needed. I'd left the office, I'd gone there. Was the process. This child was in hospital. He needed to. It's not the kind of. It's such detail that if I start to talk about it now, 2 things would happen. I would either cry.
You get emotional.
Yes, but the truth is, I can't describe it, but I saw this little baby that was battered, bruised, broken. I don't know why people do the things they do. I don't know why they go through. I don't know what goes on in somebody's head that you decide you want to do some things. But I'm really glad that there are systems in place that makes it possible for you to repair certain things. And like I said, I don't know what would push a human being to do certain things, but I'm just glad the system allows you to be able to say, you know what, I don't know what somebody thought casting you away, but it was just because they knew I was here waiting.
Waiting for you.
And that was it. I searched all my life for that girl. I didn't know I was searching for her, but the minute I saw her, it was clear that she was the one I was searching for. It was, I didn't need any convincing. Even before the medicals came out, we didn't know what conditions she might have. I told everybody, you know what, don't worry, this one is fine, because this one is exactly what I'm looking for. And it was interesting because she was put at about under 2 weeks old. We're not sure exactly. The doctor wasn't sure that she was just malnourished or something. So we weren't sure exactly of the date, but I wanted a 3-year-old, I knew instantly that this was my child.
And you know, this is why when we spoke, when we did our pre-interview debrief, and Funke is getting emotional.
No, it's okay.
It's absolutely fine. You know, as you told me this story, I said, wow, this is actually a great love story. You know, we're searching for, you know, I'm not married, you know, I'm looking for love and all of these things. And then you meet this little human being and you realize, like you said, this is who I've been searching for all my life. You recognize her, recognize her, there's a connection and it's instant love. You know, so at that point, will I say, or am I right in saying that that was the point when you became a mother?
That point. Exactly that point. Because she didn't come home for, this is November, she didn't come home till the end of March. But that was, at that point, every spare moment I had, I mean, and we're both, the home she was in was on the extreme of town. So I lived in one extreme, she was somewhere else. Every weekend, Saturday, Sunday, guaranteed, I showed up. The people that run the home, my God, I wish I'd invited them to watch the show today. I mean, there are a lot of selfless people, let's put it that way. Because even if you work in the ministry, you must have a heart for this thing. I spent every moment there. There were kids there that were brilliant. There were kids that were troubled. Some kids, unfortunately, bear the scarring of whatever happened to them early in life. But for me, that was the beginning. I was shopping. And even right now, I was having a conversation with my sister a few days ago, and she just looked in the background and said, how many teddy bears am I counting? I'm like, don't worry, let's not go there. Let's just leave it. You know, but you're responsible for, you want to give somebody the very best that you have. It's not some of you, it's not, let's share half. It's like, this is all, but it's yours if you take it. And I think God really blessed me with a phenomenal daughter. I don't know about other people's daughter, but I got the best one in the world. I don't know.
I can attest to the love between Funke and her daughter Kie, because I've met Kie. I remember the day, Funke, when you told me that Kie was coming home. I remember that day, and I remember how you were almost walking on your head. It was like Funke was on cloud, I don't even know what. And it was clear to me that, you know, this was love. If ever there was anything called love, this was love. Why did it take, you know, you said it was November, she was, you know, she was found, and she came home with you in March. Why? Because why did it take that long? Is that
a lot of, it's normal. So from what the process, because there's also a lot of legal work involved. Even though she came home in March, also we did not complete legalization till about December.
Wow.
And I remember I was going to have a welcome home party for her, naming ceremony type party. But I kept telling everybody in the office, I only want to do this when my paperwork is complete and is official. And even till she was 1, it wasn't official. So I kept telling everybody, I'm not having this party now until it is. The system is thorough. Let me put it. I wish they made it faster, and it could be faster, to be honest. But the system was just thorough. So there's a care order. There's a period where they want to see you bond with the child.
Okay.
So it's like a supervised visitation, so to speak. You're spending time with your child. People are seeing, and also that bonding period, they actually reserve the right to say, we're not sure you're fit for this, or this would work. So there's a duration that they give you where you're supposed to bond. And at counter, it says usually about 3 months. So this is November. By Valentine, I had my baby's Valentine clothes. We were going to do too much. We were going to have a photo shoot. I was sure she would be home. My God, my heart broke. At this point, I was going to either move to the home, to the orphanage. I was like a staff. I mean, when I go there now, normally visitors wouldn't even go beyond a certain stage. I just stroll in. Because I was there every weekend. And when I could make time also, if I was going somewhere, I'd stop. But, so the process is thorough, but I wish it were faster. But I also understand.
It's understandable because, I mean, I think there's nothing more, after a child who has experienced so much trauma, to then be put in the hands of the wrong person or in the wrong home and experience even more trauma. So for that reason, I mean, I guess I can understand why they can't rush it. They can't rush it too much. And it's comforting to hear that they are that thorough. So when she now came home, what was the first night, the first few days like when it was just the two of you, and you now had to go through the sole caregiver for this child. I remember you telling me that sleep became what do you call it? Sleep
till now. Till what is sleep? What's that? Something you do when you don't have a child? Till now, there's no sleep.
She's 20 months now, isn't she?
She's 20 months now. I don't know why this lamp is refusing to. Yeah, okay, I feel better. I can see myself. She's 20 months now. When she came home, so because I knew the day she was coming, and this is me, I prepared. I had diapers, different ages. I had feeding sets. I had, I was very mechanical. That's me. You want to do something, you cross all your T's and dot your I's. But having a child doesn't follow any of that. And I think there was also a great advantage of her having been in the home for the first 3 months because she was she was like independent. So the homes will tell you that they don't carry a child endlessly. So you're fed, you're dry, a bit of playtime. So when I'll go there and carry her for hours, they will warn me that, Mommy Kiye, you are giving yourself issues. When you get and this child is used to this. But the first 1 month, I swear, I don't think I slept. I just stared at her all through the night. I just stared at her all through. It's still what I do now. I have pictures of her sleeping. I take like 4 or 5 every night. Like one leg on top of something. When you give my daughter a teddy bear now, I mean, when there are some questions you shouldn't ask, I can go on all night and not stop. Yeah. But when that child is with you and the child is yours, maybe it's because I don't have a child that I gave birth to, but I can't imagine a greater love. I'm just saying, maybe it's because I've not gone through that process. But for me, there's nothing beyond. There's no bond stronger than this. There's no bond. Some people say it's because I don't have something compared to, but I don't need to. I'm just.
I take issue with that actually because love is love. I mean, and it's. I mean, you give birth to a child the natural way. You come to love somebody who comes into your life any way the person comes to your life, and there is love. I don't think that you then begin to somebody says you've just explained the mother's love. This is a mother's love, and it is not any different from somebody else said nobody asked their opinions. It's not any different, and I don't believe
if I wear my glasses I can read, but the light reflects.
Nobody asked their opinion, right? Absolutely. You can't presume to tell any mother that is because this is, if maybe because she has nothing to compare it to. She knows what she feels in her heart. She knows that this is the child that she will lay her life down for.
Let me even tell you what I tell. I'm so easy with people who give advice and opinion. Hey, once you make a comment or give something that is contrary, I don't argue with you. But at that point, once you shot in your presence, somebody will tell me that Funke, you're blocking me. I'll say yes. Block. Instagram, block. Facebook, block. Phone number, block. Your husband, your cousin, your relative, block, 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 block. Anybody that is not on my, I'm very quick to do that. And even with my family, I mean, when I was breaking the news, for instance, my oldest sister didn't find out for a very long time. And she would call me and say, who is this child on your DP? And I would not answer. Because every time I go, I change pictures like 45 times every day, different pictures. Who is this child? I didn't answer. Who is this child? So one morning about 6 a.m., she calls me. She said, Funke, I want to talk to you now. Who is that child? I said, sis, me, I'm busy. She's like, you're not busy. Who is that? I said, yeah, that's my daughter. Then she starts to scream. I knew it. I knew it. Why didn't you tell me? I said, because me, I didn't want anybody to distract me. Oh, okay, so when are you going to see her? We'll go to the home together. I'm like, no, nobody. I gathered her like that. When she comes home, I mean, it's still a fight till today. Because she would tell me, where is she? Let me go. I'm like, no, I'm enjoying. You know when something is sweet and you're eating it by yourself and you're covering it? People have to say, we are coming by force. I had somebody who came all the way from Ibadan, and then they got to the area and they said, okay, we're around here. We know you say the home is somewhere here. Where is it? But it's just, so people can give any, I mean, I had an aunt that I told this and she burst into tears. And the first thing she said was, and please, I didn't even talk about adoption. I just said I have a daughter now. And the first thing she said was, God has finally removed this reproach. What's that? What's that?
What's that?
So now when I pick up my phone and I see auntie, it just goes face down. God is still working forgiveness in me. I don't have it yet, but I don't want anybody to come and put aside my nice curry. I'm having it. But I also understand what it is. It's alien to a lot of things that we understand and that we know here. But with my mother, personally, I've had a problem with it. No, we grew up with, you know, I have cousins and aunties. I don't know if they're from my father's side or my mother's side, because that was how we grew up. There were lots of kids, there were lots of people in the house. My mom would feed anybody. Aboki comes to cut grass. My mother has cooked for Aboki to eat. And she's paying him for cutting grass. But she said, Osha and Shisha, Yade Lobi, you give him something to eat for that day. So she wouldn't have had a problem. My family members don't. And if they do, maybe they don't want to tell me, but it's all right. But they don't.
It's better they don't tell you, so you don't block them, block their whole destiny, block their future generation.
My immediate family don't send me anymore. They say, "Shebi, when you are blocked, it's okay." It's okay.
You know,
but
this leads us to, and time is fast spent. And I know people have questions for you, but this leads us to, you know, we've kind of covered the area of stigma and you know, the stigmatization that adoptive families have to face. You've alluded to maybe some insensitive comments. Has there been anything deeper than that? Has there been any time when you felt, I've got to protect myself and my child from this person or this environment?
Not really. And I think it's the way I'm handling mine. And for everybody is also different. You have to understand where everybody's coming up from, their own issues and their own demons. So I'm never quick to say how you're doing yours is wrong. But for me, I'm very open about this. Because I remember sharing with somebody that if I'd known this, I would have done this 10 years ago. I would have done it ages ago. So I'm quick to share the experience, and it's something that I will share with my daughter. So in terms of stigma and a lot of things, everybody's different. Because of this process, I now have I'm now part of many groups. I know many people that have gone through it. And people are becoming more open about it and talking about it openly, because you really can't hide it. Nigerians will count dates for you. They say, oh, marry. They're counting months. It's not that you marry in March and somebody's asking you December. Chekosi, we have not heard the cry of baby. We are very insensitive, but we mean well.
And
We don't know boundaries, but we mean well. We don't. So for me, it's something I intend to share with my daughter. It's a process I intend to go through again.
So you're ready to adopt another one?
When I sleep small.
When you catch up on your sleep a little bit.
When I sleep small. But yes, I am ready. I intend to. Because it's, so in terms of stigma, to be honest, there may be a few. Nobody would. Maybe, I'm sure people are dealing with their own things. So I know somebody who told me that, oh, I'm adopting girls because I need them to get married and leave my husband's surname, because the family will tell them the story in future. I know the family. I know, I mean, somebody asked me the other day that your daughter has the same surname as you. I didn't know your surname is your marital name. I said, no, I'm not married. Then she got confused. So you mean you didn't give her a father's name? So I'm like, she's my daughter. She has my son.
You need to ask all these questions, as in.
Sometimes people ask innocently. They mean no harm, to be honest. And I could see in her face, she just couldn't wrap her mind around it. So I'm like, yeah, she's my daughter. You know, isn't what her father's family be offended? So I said, well, you know what? Not that it's any of your business, but so that you are not breaking your head and all of that. This is the process. And you wouldn't believe she has called me like twice. Could I please also talk to her sister-in-law who is dealing with so-and-so and this? And so sometimes people don't think about it, or they don't think enough. They just say the first thing that comes to their head.
And speaking of that, what would you say is the wrongest thing, or some things that you should never say, what that one should never say to an adoptive parent? What are some sentiments that one should never say?
This, I'm not sure any young person would say, but I mean, when somebody adopts a child and she's very happy, not said to me, but that a friend shared with me, was when somebody told her, Tieno Ade, which means yours will come.
As in, after she had adopted this baby, they were still saying to her that your own real child will come.
So the person meant well. I tried to tell her, but she's like, no. It's no. There's no. So for me, maybe it's because I don't even know what it is. Or maybe it's because people are afraid of me. I don't know. But nobody has told me anything that I'm holding that I find hurtful. But I know that really, really crushed this person's spirit for a few days before she got over it. But I know people who come to me and they ask me, I mean, how will you tell your daughter? Will you tell your daughter? For a lot of people, that's the greatest thing. Will you tell her? I'm like, I will tell her, because it's not a secret. And rather than let her hear it from somebody else, we will start this conversation. So there are books that tell you how early should you tell a child. I don't know how I will, but because I've told the whole world what it is already, I'm sure she'll even just grow into the awareness. But we're going to have a conversation about how I searched high and low for her.
And I agree. Somebody here says that's a horrible thing to say. She couldn't have meant well. I don't think that if you tell somebody, somebody has a child and you're trying to make a distinction in that person's mind, then that you mean well. You're ignorant. At best, we can say you're ignorant, but it doesn't mean that you mean well. And I guess my feeling is, I don't think my child is safe with this person. So I wouldn't, so I want to get to questions. I still have a few questions that I want to ask you, but I want to take questions from the audience now.
And I can't read any of the questions from the audience.
You can, because I'll share it with you. I'll share it so you can see the questions and answer.
Okay.
Okay, here's a question. With utmost respect, are adoptive parents given any available child, or do the families get to choose? Do you have a choice? Or is it any child you pick?
It's, what, did you hear waiting list? There's a long waiting list. So once they even tell you that there's a child, believe me, you are jumping first. But I know that what they do is, because your letter would have specified a sex, or they know, in my case, they knew I could only get a girl. So if a baby boy had come up, I wouldn't have been considered.
Yeah.
But it's that they offer you, because there's a long waiting list. There's a horribly long. I don't want to tell you how long some people have waited. You know, so there's a horribly long wait. They offer you the first child, and it's really based on just where you are in the scheme of things. And if it's not you and you turn down, the next person gets to have. And there are a lot of things that
do you then go to the back of the list or to the bottom of the list rather, if you decide for whatever reason that this child is not for you, or they just keep trying to find you a child?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. But I have heard stories of people being given a child, and you go through the 3 months, 4 months waiting process, and then you come back and say, I'm not bonding with this child. And I still think it's better that people do that and bring the child back and give somebody else a chance than now force yourself to go through something that, because I know lots of people that would not consider it, and they're lovely people. They just say, I can't do it, and they can't. So you get offered the first child that comes available, and if you've been waiting for a while, you say, yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, I'm seeing comments now that I'm wearing my glasses, thank God.
Yeah, okay, so I'll get to some of my own question. I mean, you've answered a lot of them just in the course of our conversation. But when you, now, I mean, you're still a young, beautiful, vibrant woman. Marriage, is it part, are you still, I mean, there's a possibility that you will get married one day. Do you worry about how Kia will integrate with the future husband's family or your future husband, or is that something you don't even think about?
No, there's no worry about that at all, because right now I'm in a relationship right now, and she's absolutely adored. Absolutely adored by every single person. I mean, Kia gets more visitation. If you know how many grandmas my daughter has from everywhere, she's not even missing the fact that I'm one. So there are many kiss from grandma, love from grandma. No, so I'm not worried about that. Marriage is a different kettle of fish at all.
Okay.
Let's leave that marriage talk. But I'm not worried that she would integrate. Whether the marriage will happen is a different matter. But let's.
Okay. So what are your and we're wrapping up now. What are your hopes and aspirations for your daughter as she grows up?
That she will rule the world, that she finds favor everywhere she turns. She's brilliant. Not because, I'm not saying this just because she's my daughter.
You're not biased, eh?
I'm not biased. She's a brilliant, self-confident, amazing, almost 2-year-old. She knows what she wants. She's a considerate child. She's just adorable. So for me, is my prayer for her every day that God grants her uncommon wisdom, unusual favor. He grants her brilliance, that doors will open for her, that she'll do amazing things and impact this world positively. Because I know that girl's destined for something. I don't know what it is, but it's beyond me.
She's
because if you had seen her, you would know that for you to be this and survive, you are an amazing, phenomenal person. Absolutely phenomenal person. So I'm not worried.
Amen. She's got the best mom ever. Somebody says she's got the best mom ever. Absolutely. And she's a sign and a wonder. She's destined for signs and wonders. I have 40 seconds left. If you want more information, Funke has information that she can share with anyone who's interested in the adoptive process. Funke's handle is @F_Adewoye. @F_Adewoye. So Funke Adewoye, just search for @F_Adewoye or get in touch with me. I'm happy to put you in touch with her. Funke, you are an amazing mom. I can say that because I've seen you. I know how you absolutely, you and Kia, the bond between you guys is amazing. God bless you. God bless the rest of your journey. And we look forward to seeing what Kia will accomplish. Thank you so
Many
much
great
for joining
things. Thank you. And I really enjoyed this.